Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Michelle Fondon, and this is the new channeling format that I am doing hopefully once a week. Maybe it'll be once every 2 weeks. I'm not really sure at this point. When inspiration strikes, when the angels have something to say to the twin flame community about this twin flame journey. This is the second channeling that I am doing for the YouTube channel. Check out the first one after this video. I will put the link above here. I will also put the link at the end page. So welcome back. If you are new to my channel, please do subscribe below. Click on that bell, scroll up to all for all notifications, and thank you for giving that video a thumbs up. All right, so it's interesting because every time I speak to the angels, I really don't have any idea as to which direction the conversation will go. And this week was no different because the conversation with the angels was certainly in a different direction than I particularly expected it to go. And you will actually see that as I move through this conversation with the angels. If you're new to this on my channel, here is how I work through channeling with my angelic guidance. I usually write things down, and it is in a question and answer format. So if you hear the sound of two different voices, if you will, and I'm not going to change voices, of course, but meaning like there will be a question, there will be a comment, there will be an answer. Okay, so listen for the answer portion as well as the question portion. And it is me asking the questions to angelic guidance, and it is the angels answering the questions or comments that I have made. And I do this in advance because there's a lot of hesitation and sometimes waiting for the messages to come through. And I just didn't want there to be large pauses on this format. So I do it a day in advance, and then I read it to you guys on this podcast format, even though it's on YouTube. And then afterward, what I will do is I will comment on what the angelic guidance was. So with no further ado, here is the conversation channeled yesterday. Dear angels, is there anything you would like to say to the Twin Flame Collective today? Never fear. Do not depart from the path laid out in front of you. You're here for a reason. God has placed you where you must be. Life as a twin flame is unfolding in front of you, and it's good. Those who stray will not return to the path. This is a crucial time. Many things are happening now, things you can't understand, and that is why we urge you to stay where you are on the righteous path. Dear angels, is there anything else you would like to add to the twin flame messages before I ask some questions? We have asked you not to fear, and that is what we emphasize. The human mind likes to play tricks and lead you to believe that this is not real. It is real. You are becoming whole. We assure you that we, the angels, will not lead you astray. That is why we ask you not to falter from your path. Choose if you must, but you will soon see the truth. Dear angels, I suppose you are speaking of free will? Yes. We cannot interfere, we can lead, but if you do not choose, we must let you on your way. Dear angels, why do you say that now is a crucial time? What does this mean exactly? The world is changing. Humanity is changing. Be on guard for some major shifts. We cannot say more at this time, but if you believe in our guidance, you will follow. Truth is not fear. Thank you, angels. Hopefully those listening will understand. Why do you say that those who stray will not return to the path? Do you mean the twin flame path? Yes, that is correct. The twin flame path. Misguidance is the main reason why. A twin flame who strays from the righteous path has let doubt enter. By the time they do stray, doubt has become a way of life, and that is why they will not return. It is a shame that such things occur. But that is the way of the human. We can guide gently, but we cannot interfere. Dear angels, thank you for that, and I do understand. I have seen many stray from the path because of doubt. Last conversation with you for the collective, you mentioned that the veil is thin between our realms. Can you explain this further? Before, the heavenly realms were rather closed for most humans who are living. The notion that most are familiar with is the notion of sin. However, the explanation goes much deeper than that. The human mind tends to block out most things. Furthermore, the human need for wealth, greed, contempt, revenge, sarcasm, being right, and separateness, as examples, all created space or distance between our worlds. When you are wrapped up in any of these things, you create distance between you and heaven. In recent years, many humans have begun to seek out more spiritual understanding and have trended away from things that create that distance. Dear angels, this is so big. Can you please give some examples? Today, most turn away from religion, and yet religion can give the template to which we speak. An act of human kindness multiplied by 1,000 can thin out the veil. Forgiveness and harmony among mankind are other examples we can give to you. Introspection into your own spiritual being leads to making better choices for yourself and for others. Turning away from selfishness and greed give everyone the boost they need to create higher consciousness and in turn better choices. Dear angels, if the veil is now thin between our realms, does that mean that we have made better choices? Indeed it does, dear one. As we mentioned before, humanity is shifting, and we will see greater shifts very soon. Dear angels, thank you. What does this thin veil mean for twin flames? You will be able to hear our messages better and clearer. We can come to you more easily because the space is open, hearts are open, minds are open, and there is less resistance to hearing us. Dear angels, you spoke of religion, and I do know that the term or word religion tends to make people upset, or it can create triggers in a lot of people who grew up with shame and guilt. Can you please clarify what you meant by religion providing a template, and what role religion might have when it comes to spiritual awakening? First of all, you needn't fear. Fear is not the pathway to love. Religion is a concept, a human construct for meeting the divine. Religions as such, as a concept, is not bad or evil. It is just a construct. Simple as that. The human mind can want fear and live for fear. This is not the way. As we have mentioned, religion can create a template for reaching the divine, and this is good. We, as meeting each other, the human world and the heavenly realms, can need templates sometimes to help bring us together. Think of religion as having been a roadmap to find each other. Therefore, it is not bad in itself. The templates drawn up are not all bad, and in fact, some are quite accurate. However, as you have seen and perhaps experienced, those who interpret this roadmap can be quite off at times. The interpretation of the map can lead astray, and that is quite unfortunate. Wow, angels, that is quite a lengthy explanation. Can you please answer what role religion might have when it comes to twin flames and a spiritual awakening? For twin flames, do you know the expression, all roads lead to China? Spiritual awakening is just thinning the veil. The more a twin flame or any spiritual seeker practices the tenets outlined in any good religion, this will lead them to a deeper awareness of the connection that is within. So whether a twin flame chooses a religion or not, as long as they follow righteousness, kindness, compassion, forgiveness, understanding of the other, and openness to the divine, they are finding their way. Thank you, angels. Okay, Michelle here commenting on that channeling, and it was pretty deep. So my suggestion to you is, if you got triggered or if you did not understand fully what the angels were saying, or maybe you were doing something else while listening to this, my suggestion is to go back and listen to that portion of the video, because I had to reread it a couple of times, and I'm the one who channeled it, right? And Oftentimes, for those of you that understand the concept of channeling divine messages, you are in the space, but you're not truly in the space. You're more in receiving mode and not in thinking mode. So when I go back and reread the channelings, often I don't get what I got the first time because I was in receiving mode rather than thinking mode. This, as I mentioned in the beginning of the video, did not unfold in the way that I thought it might unfold, but it was certainly interesting and it brought up many points. And it brought up many points that I would invite you to explore as well. Let's go back to this word religion because, as I mentioned in the question or the comment to angelic guidance, that it can bring about a lot in people, right? It can bring about a lot of triggers. It can bring about wounds. It can bring about memories of shame, guilt, harshness that was in your religious upbringing if you were brought up in a religion, or maybe a vacuum if you were not brought up in any religious upbringing. And so let's just go to the etymology of the word religion, because even though I studied religion for a large portion of my young adulthood, I never remembered the meaning. So I looked it up, and the etymology of religion is to bind, obligation, a bond, reverence. It comes from the Latin word ligare, which means to bind. And then I furthermore looked up the definition of to bind. And the definition of to bind means to tie or fasten tightly. Now, it's interesting because the angels did talk about the tying in of our two worlds, the tying in, the binding in of the heavenly realms with the human world. And so without really exploring this concept of religion in the previous part of the channeling, the angels in essence were talking about this concept of tying together or bonding together or connecting together. And the origins of religion were really to help bind together, tie together the human world with the heavenly world. And so in and of itself, as the angels mentioned, religion is not a bad thing. It is a thing, a human construct that was designed to tie in this world with the other world. So I really liked what they said about how in and of itself, it's not bad. It is more the interpretation of the precepts, the concepts infused in religious practices that are misguided, that are misunderstood, that are misplaced. And that really reminded me of the fact that so many of us brought up in religious settings carry forward wounds from our religious upbringing, and maybe these wounds are still very fresh. Perhaps these wounds are ever present. Perhaps it has caused you to refute anything that you've learned from your past. Perhaps it has caused you to abandon all educational experiences of religion from your past. And perhaps it has also disconnected you from family members because of the strictness, the harshness, the misinterpretation, as angelic guidance put it, as well as the wounds of guilt and shame. And they expressed many times throughout the channeling that fear is not the way. The way is not fear, and fear is not the way. Which reminds me of Mandalorian, this is the way. Love is the way. Fear is not the way. And the invitation that I have for you in hearing this, especially if you got triggered upon hearing the word religion, is to explore the wounds within you that are still fresh, open, festering, or buried deep within when it comes to religion. I grew up very religiously, as most of you who have been following my channel for years well know, anybody who's been listening to my videos since the beginning, or anyone who has experienced the Twin Flame boot camps with me, know how religiously I grew up. And even though I don't adhere to the principles of Catholicism in its entirety, really, I've abandoned pretty much every precept of Catholicism with the exception of the trine, right? The divinity, the trine of divinity, which is Jesus, the Holy Spirit, and God the Father. Also, I have a nice relationship with Mary, the Virgin Mother. But other than that, most of the concepts of the structure of the religion that is Catholicism, I have pretty much abandoned. That being said, however, the teachings of Christianity, the teachings of Catholicism, I have held very near and dear to my heart, very close to my heart. Because the phrase that's coming through is not throwing out the baby with the bathwater. Don't throw out the baby with the bathwater. Why would you do that? That's just terrible. And it's because in anything and everything, there is good and bad. In everything and anything, there are positives and negatives. And if I were to throw out all of my Catholic upbringing and education with my childhood, really, because it's such an integral part of my childhood leading up into my adulthood, that I would be throwing away some nuggets of truth, some nuggets of openness and compassion and forgiveness and willingness to see the other. I would be throwing that all away, and that just doesn't do justice to opening up to spiritual understanding and spiritual awakeness. In fact, I have a great appreciation for my educational upbringing in religion. I was in a Catholic school for 12 years. And the last 4 years, which were my high school years, I had some fantastic religion teachers who had major impact on my existence, major impact on my life. And the courses that I took in high school with religion were wholly very fascinating and opened up my mind to greater moral questions and opened up my heart to hearing the word of God and what Jesus went through as a man and as his divinity. And so if I looked at the religion itself, and if I said, the Catholicism that I grew up with and the Catholic Church as a whole is corrupt and it is misguided and it hurts people, I would be literally throwing out the baby with the bathwater. And so I have learned to separate the institution, the concept of the Catholic Church, with the lessons provided within that I have been able to carry forward with me into my spiritual future. So if this is you, if you have experienced some wounds in any religious upbringing, whatever that may be for you, whether you were raised Christian, Catholic, Buddhist, Hindu, Muslim, Jewish, or any other type of religion, which I don't think Buddhism, they don't consider themselves to be a religion. It's a philosophy. But if you were raised in any of those religions that were culturally connected as well, and that you are wounded as a result of that, or inversely, if you were raised atheist or agnostic and never opened yourself up to religion, I would say it is time to heal the wounds of this major category in life, right? Because what do they say when you're in social groups? Like, you should never talk about politics, money, or religion, right? Like, those are the 3 things that typically people will say, you must not talk about these 3 things. And I would say, let's have an invitation into self-exploration. Let's take this as an opportunity for wound healing and to move away from fear and into love. Because if there is anger surrounding religion for you, if there is shame, guilt, frustration, blame surrounding religion for you, that's all fear. That's all fear-based. And as the angels mentioned, fear is not the way. They mentioned it at least 4 times that I counted, and I just did a quick skim over the channeling. Maybe you can re-listen, have a re-listen and listen to what the angels said about fear. So I hope this was helpful this week, Twin Flame. Again, certainly interesting the way that it turned out. Totally unexpected for me. And I'm really proud of this that came through, because I feel that this will help those of you that have been struggling in this arena to help heal these wounds. And I invite you in, again, I invite you in to heal this part of you. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for subscribing to my channel below. Please click on that bell, scroll up to all for all notifications. And thank you for giving the video a thumbs up. Thank you for sharing this video with other Twin Flames. And thank you so much for your support of my YouTube channel. You can buy a book or 2 or 3. You can join a boot camp or meditation course. You can also join my group coaching. The link is below. I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.